Do you know how your parents met?
How they met? Uh, I think at that time, uh, Dad lived at Harrington, and she must have lived at either Coleridge or Laurel, and then he would take a horse and buggy and go with her to, because I remember him saying that he went to Laurel to when they were dating, so back and forth, and then they'd be back to Hartington, and that's so that I know they lived in different towns at the time, so.
How did they meet if they lived in different towns?
Well, I don't know how they met, really. I really don't know.
Do you know how old they were when they started dating?
No, I don't really.
Or how old they were when they were married? Do you know how long they dated? No,
Really,
not sure.
no.
Do you know how they got engaged? Did he ask her, or was it a mutual thing, or?
Well, I don't know if he proposed to her or not. It's just because I imagine it was because it was never talked about, back then so, as much as it would be nowadays.
Did they accept it, or were they kind of thinking it shouldn't have happened, or wish they would have waited, or?
Well, I don't really, I don't, like I say, they never talked or discussed much about that, and, but I just remember in my time, how things were there that was been after they were married, when they moved up from Nebraska up to over toward between Mount Vernon and Blankenton, and that I can recall, and then it was from that, and then I could remember a little bit about what was going on, but as far as them talking about it so that I would know, I don't recall, because we didn't, just didn't keep logs on those things back then.
How did they get along? Do you remember how your parents and grandparents all got along that you can remember?
Well, fairly good, as most people do,
There weren't any grudges.
Probably my grandpa and grandma, Sherry's, probably got along better than maybe my folks did, so.
With each other, you mean?
Huh?
You mean your folks got along with each other
Yes.
better than your parents did, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because, well, the reason was because, like I say, Dad was strictly work, and Mother sometimes would want to go someplace if she felt like it, and if she didn't feel like it, well, of course, she'd, or didn't want to go, she'd be sick or something, so she didn't have to go, and so that was their times that weren't as good as they could have been, probably.
Do you know where your folks went on their honeymoon, or if they had one?
What?
Do you know where your folks went on their honeymoon, or if they even had
Well, I
one?
don't imagine they went anywhere that I know of.
Do you know of any pictures or memorabilia from their wedding? Any of their wedding
No.
clothes, wedding rings, wedding scrapbooks, any of that stuff of theirs?
No, it seemed like, well, Well, but back then it was like for them, if there just weren't there's like cameras where they would take pictures, you know, of those things like that. So if they didn't have the pictures, why, after came into the world, and that way we didn't know what really did happen.
Mm-hmm. Do your sisters have any of their memorabilia? Would they have any of the, like the wedding rings or anything?
Not really.
You don't think so? Where did they move to once they got married?
What's that?
Where did they move to once they got married?
Well, I think shortly after that they had come up to South Dakota then, because we were all born here around, between Plank and Mount Vernon, and just near Mount. And back then, there wasn't too much going to the hospital or anything like that. They would have the child at home, and so, even my youngest sister Phyllis there, I can remember when she was born, yet I was old enough to remember. And she was was in that stucco house just a mile west of Mount Vernon. It was the last place that they lived in before they've moved into Mount Vernon. And
did they always live in that place between Mount Vernon and?
well, no, they had been when the first that I recall was that was for about 5 miles west of Mount Vernon, and that was from Davison over into Aurora County. So and because my oldest sister Velma and I went to Hopper Consolidated, which was they had a high school at that time halfway between Mount Vernon and Plank. And now I don't know I think they have grades over there yet, but there's no high school. They either part of them go to Plankington, and part of them come to Mount Vernon. So.
And your dad was a farmer?
Yeah.
Through all these years?
Yeah.
What sort of things did he raise? What did he raise? What sort of animals? What sort of?
Oats and barley and corn mostly. At that time, there wasn't much for soybeans, anywhere around. And there's a lot of places now in the western part that they don't raise beans. If they raise anything in row crop, it's corn. So.
Did he ever have any animals?
Oh, I had cattle and a lot of milk cows. When I was home, I'd even have to milk cows at home, and then of course after we were married, why I still got shorthorns, which made the animals weren't like dairy cattle, but yet they were good milk cows, And that was the shorthorn in them that made the good animals. And I was doing that till I quit farming.
When was it that?
We used to raise a lot of hogs.
So what was your typical day like when you were a youth on the farm? Did you do chores since you can remember when you were young?
Oh well, when we were real young, we used to herd the cows in the railroad track, because that's about the only place that had grass. And so we had to, Velma and I would have to take the cattle down and herd them down to the track and then let them go in. And then we'd watch for freight trains or something coming when we would see smoke. Well, then we were supposed to chase them as hard as we could to the end of so they'd go out and turn on the road and get off the way from the tracks. And Dad had always said, if you get caught and don't make it to the end, he said, forget the cattle and lay down along the side of the ditch by the railroad tracks so the train wouldn't suck us in. So we knew how to do that.
Did you ever have any accidents or any cows that didn't make it off the tracks? Or?
No, never. We never did. One time we had one that was fence that broke fence down, and then 2 or 3 cows got out, and one was happened to be up on the track when the train went through, and they have those guards in the front of the trains, you know, and it hit that and threw it, and then of course it had killed it. And but outside of that, while we were herding the cattle, we never did get the cattle. Some would crowd over against the other fence away from the railroad tracks, so they didn't try to make a dash for the tracks, and which was hard for you couldn't hardly drive them across the track anyhow because they'd turn around and go the other way, you know. So we didn't have to worry about that. We had to just worry about ourselves, so we didn't get sucked into the train, you know.
Did you ever have any injuries trying to herd the cows?
No.
No, they never tried to charge you or
No.
nothing?
No, as a matter of fact, we had a bull there that was so tame that I would jump up on, run and jump up on his back and ride it down to the railroad tracks, believe it or not. And always was a tame bull, never bothered nobody. And you know how bulls can be sometimes, especially to get 2 of them across the fence from one another. They want to tear at each other, you know. So.
Who were your parents' best friends? Do you remember their names? Who they spent their time with?
Well, I think from what I can recall, in my time was probably when we were farther west over there, you know, in the first place, and then Gabe and Emma Maldy were neighbors right across the old 16 highway, and so we were with them, or they would be over there quite a bit. And of course they had 2 children too, a girl and a boy. So, and then there was Velma and I. So us 4, we used to play together a lot. And I recall one time when we were over to Gabe and Emma's place that Gene, the boy, and I were out running around barefooted, and I stepped on a board with a nail in it, and Emma came and rushed me into the house, and I put my foot in a pan of warm water, and to make sure that you got any infections and stuff away. And at that time, we didn't think of running right to a doctor, because doctors they would usually come to you, country doctors, you know. And if you had problems, they would come out to see you rather than go the other way. So that's how that was at a time when I stepped on that nail, and they had to pull it off out of my foot. And I can remember that time. I was old enough to know. But at the time playing, you don't always look, you know, when you should.
Did you wear shoes after that?
Not always, no, still go barefooted.
What did your parents like to do when they did have some free time? Did they ever play cards
Oh,
or?
yes, they both liked 500. Of course, I never did play the game, so I can't tell you just how 500 is played. But they used to then they used to belong to what they called the Farmers Union, the group, and that they'd have. Sometimes it'd be at one place, and then the next time another one party couple was supposed to have the thing, and then would have lunches afterwards, and the kids would play together while they were discussing their other problems of farming and stuff like that. So it was.
Okay.
But some of those things like that I can recall just like as if it was yesterday. But and then other things, I don't remember because.
Let's see. You said your mom liked to read. Do you remember what type of books she read, or?
No, I really don't. But I don't know whether she liked mystery or just otherwise or not. But I know she did quite a little reading.
What sort of, how was their normal day spent on the farm? What did your parents do during the day? Your mom did a lot of baking, you said?
Well, yes, and of course, back then, like that, you didn't have, we didn't even have washing machine back then. You had the scrub board, and you've heard of that, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And used to take it was the same kind of like a tub that we used to, as kids, took a bath in, and she'd have to scrub them on that scrub board, and then wring them out by hand, mm-hmm. and then hang them on the line. And it had to be, most of the time, unless it was winter time and cold, you had to hang them somewhere in the house, mm-hmm. So the clothes would get dry. Mm-hmm. So back then, you didn't have a lot of free time to speak of, of any kind. So yeah. It was pretty much a struggle all the way through all the time.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the house that you grew up in? What it looked like, what it felt like, how it was set up?
Well, it was, that was across from, over there in Aurora County, across from Gate Mold is there. And it was a two-story house. We had, our bedrooms were all upstairs. I don't, as a matter of fact, I don't know, there might have been one for Mom and Dad downstairs, but as far as kids, we all had to go up the stairs and cover up real good, because it'd be cold. Mm-hmm. And then when it was cold, Mother would had these irons and heat them up that she'd iron clothes with, and wrap them in paper around and around them, and then put them by our feet in bed, mm-hmm. so that we could to keep warm.
Mm-hmm. And did that keep you warm all night? I mean, they stayed warm?
Pretty much so, because if you weren't real cold and chilled, yourself, your body heat would warm up. Of course, now Velma and I, we didn't sleep in separate beds. We had to sleep together. There wasn't any choice. We would sleep together till we were about ready to go to start school, you know, so, because there just wasn't a matter of selection, you know, back then.
Well, and in bad weather, it would be a lot warmer, too, you know.
Well, sure.
What sort of things did your parents do, like, every week? Was there a certain day of the week that they went into town and got groceries and all that?
Well, usually back then, you know, transportation was like with the Model A Ford or something like that. And when they would go to town, they would get enough supplies to last all week long, because when it would blizzard or something, they maybe wouldn't make it. And I remember when, as a kid, that Dad had a bobsled and a team of horses would have to tromp through the snowbanks, and we went up and down over them and went into town, because when we were only a mile west of town, it wasn't quite so bad to get there. So then, but normally it was once a week that they got groceries and things like that. So.
On the weekends?
Yes, and a lot of times when they would take either a trailer or a bobsled, you had to get coal in town to fire the stove for heat. So, and then we had the corn cobs, of course, in the cook stoves in the kitchen, and so that way it didn't cost quite so much for coal and stuff.
What about every year? Did you make a yearly trip anywhere to go visit family, or?
Not really, not that I remember. We, like I say, the only thing, when we used to go to outside of the Maldives, right next, so close to us, right back and forth, why you didn't travel too far. You'd go to like to those farmers' union meetings where they would meet and the kids would play, and then we'd all have a lunch and that before we'd go home to go to bed, and that was just about the entertainment back then, you know. So.
Did you have any barn raisings or barn dances or?
No, we never did.
Any reunions, family reunions?
No.
No? Did you ever take a trip with your folks when you were younger? Anywhere?
Well, not too much. No.
Just
like Jeanette there, why she would, of course, when they were small, she'll recall that they used to go to barn dances, and of course they always, the kids got to go with them, and they would go and dance out in the barns and stuff like that. That's why they're called barn dances, because they would have the dances in the barns. But we never did too much, because in our community around there, people just didn't dance, you know. For entertainment, they would get together and play cards, like I say, and then see that was, and then kids would play together, and they'd probably play cards until we got older to where we could learn how to play cards and stuff like that. Then, of course, Mom and Dad would play with us, you know, just stay home, because we didn't have the entertainment. We'd have maybe Atwater Kent radio, and that was about it. That was long before TV even came in existence. You know.
Did your parents have nicknames for each other?
Not that I knew, not too much. No.
What would they call each other?
Well, usually by their names, you know.
They wouldn't say, Mom, come here, or?
Well, they might say Dad or Mom, and like that, with with us kids, but if it was just them, well, they'd call each other by their names, you know.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever call each other honey or?
Well, not that I remember.
How did they show each other affection? Did they hug? Did they?
Well, not so much the way, it was more of a family affair, you know, where mother used to play the piano. We had a piano, and she played by ear, as they call it,
Mm-hmm.
and she never had piano lessons. And we would stand behind her, and even Dad would, and we'd all sing in the songs that were popular at that time. And we kind of made our own entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But when we first got radio, we used to listen to some of those stories like Amos and Andy, if you recall them,
Mm-hmm.
and like that. We'd always look forward to a certain night when something like that we loved would be on, and then we'd all sit there quiet and listen to that. You could not see anything,
Mm-hmm.
but you could hear it, which was quite different than when you can watch it on TV nowadays
Mm-hmm.
and hear it besides, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any of the songs that your family would sing? What the songs that you would play?
None in particular. I was trying to think of maybe some of the songs we used to sing, but mother had that some of them was just small, where you turn the pages to a certain song. Maybe some she'd skip by because playing by ear you didn't. Not knowing notes,
Mm-hmm.
like that, so she'd play what we all knew and was familiar with, and we'd sing them off and on, quite often.
Mm-hmm. So popular contemporary songs and maybe hymns from church, or?
Well, yes, and some hymns, but mostly the popular songs that were on at that time.
Mm-hmm. What's the birth order of you and your siblings? Who was the oldest?
Velma's the oldest.
Do you know when she was born?
Yes, well, she was born January 20th, 1922.
Do you know anything about her birth? Was it a difficult birth, or do you know if the doctor was out?
I wouldn't know.
They never told stories about it or anything? Okay. And who was the next one?
Then I was next, the 17th of January, of course, of 1924.
Do you know anything about your birth? Any difficulties, or?
No, I don't think Mother ever did with any of us.
And they were all born at home, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
And the next one?
Right.
And who was next?
Iris.
Okay.
And, oh gee, I can't remember what. And, I think hers seemed like it was pretty close to about the, I don't know, maybe it was in November the 21st or something. See, I know she was 70 years old, not just too long back now, so I can't remember the dates on her. And then, of course, I remember when Phyllis was born, and because she was born in the Stucco house just a mile west of Mount Vernon. And when the rest of us were standing out there waiting when the doctor had come from Plankington and to deliver her, and that was in July, and so she's 65, I think it was 65, yeah, 5 years younger than ours. And Iris was 5 years younger than I, and then Velma was 3 years older than I, and after the 20th of January. See, from the 17th till the 20th, 3 days, I was within 2 years of her age. But see, then but Norman, like now, she's 3 years older than I am. So,
Did anybody else live in the house with you when you were growing up? Did you have any?
well, just partially. I had my Uncle John, which your dad remembers me telling about him. He used to, the one that was born over in Luxembourg, he had separated from his wife, and him and another friend of his, man, used to come up for Corn Palace, when it was Corn Palace in Mitchell, and then they would stay all week and come pretty regular every day just to walk the streets and look at things and stuff like that. And then my Uncle Albert, when he was at the Veterans Hospital in Hot Springs, stopped by one time and stayed for a few days. But outside of that, it was pretty much just his family.
Those were just short-term visits?
That was just some short visits.
Did your dad ever have any farm hands or anybody? No? So whoever did the work on the farm was your dad?
He did it, and then until I got old enough to where that we had to do more than just herd the cows. We would have to have other chores like feed the chickens and clean out the brooder houses and gather the eggs and carry water in from the well to help mother out and things like that. And then of course as I got older, then I had to go out and work in the field too with horses and that.
Did you like working with the ground? Was it something that you enjoyed, or working with the animals?
Well, I don't know. It was all work, I guess, and it wasn't really what you'd call enjoyable, but it was just a duty and thing you had to do, and in order to keep ends meeting, So.
Do you remember much about the Depression and how it affected your family?
Oh, well, yes, I remember some of that there. When we'd go out and see the black clouds coming in from the west, and we'd put the chickens in the brooder house and close the doors and tear for the house and just barely get in, and then we'd roll over dirt and stuff would blow, and then when it would pass through, we'd go out and look, and the chicken house and the chickens and everything were gone, blown away, and never did know even exactly how far they traveled or anything like that. They were kind of similar to, I suppose you'd have to say, tornadoes nowadays. Maybe not quite as severe, more of a straight, stiff wind, which isn't a twisters, but it still was very damaging. You wonder, and I know that there was one time when my brother-in-law and I used to go out shocking grain for some extra money, and he had a car, and we traveled around and got jobs here and there, and we were shocking at this one place when the wind came up, and we tore it to the house, and when it was all over, the man that had hired us paid us for our work. He says it's not your fault. It took the shocks and blew them all to the fence line, and all it was straw, and no grain left on them, just shredded them and everything.
So getting back to the affection, how did your parents show affection? Did they ever say sweet things to each other like "I love you" or?
Well, I don't I don't think so too much.
Did you ever see them holding hands or hugging or put their arms around each other or
No,
kissing or
no,
no, none of that stuff?
no.
How did they show affection to you as kids?
Well, I'd have to say that, my dad never spanked us, ever. But he had the way about him that you knew when he wanted you to do something, that you better do it, you know. So, he never had to lay a hand on us any time for that. But like mother, of course, she would be, she always was like my Grandma Cherry. She would hug you, you know, and stuff like that. And you kiss sometime too. But as far as them two, mother and dad, them, I never did know. You know, we just never observed, or they maybe did, but not around us. They didn't. So. Because they weren't the pleasant things, you know, when it was hard work and you worked hard and then the wind would blow it all away, the dirt and everything, you know, and nothing to come in and no money and things like that. It was quite depressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and you don't talk about these kind of things with your kids, you know, you live it and you deal with it and you raise them and, you know.
Yeah, because, you know, it's no use having them have to think about the hardship that you had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that Grandma Norgard went through plenty of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Back they know about those days.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm sure in the same sense you didn't know much about what your parents and what your grandparents went through because they didn't want you to.
That's for sure. See, that's why I say that I wouldn't. I knew of them, but as far as their private lives or anything like that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they don't.